Ignored, dismissed, forgotten. That's what I became in my own family. Like an old chair sitting in the corner, useful once, now gathering dust. But what they didn't know was this. I was watching, I was listening, and when the moment came, I showed them exactly who I am. Was I cruel, or was I finally fair? You tell me. Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Tell me in the comments. I want to know if I'm the only one. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe because the story, it's about to get real. I'm George Whitman, 72 years old, retired high school history teacher, widower, and apparently a ghost. At Thanksgiving last year, I sat at my own dining table, the one I built with my bare hands in 1983. My wife, Margaret, and I sanded every inch, polished it until it gleamed. Back then, the table was where we laughed, cried, celebrated birthdays, whispered secrets. Now, it was where my children ignored me. Emily, my daughter, scrolled on her phone, giggling at memes. Daniel, my son, bragged to his cousin about his crypto empire. Even my grandkids didn't look up. They asked Alexa to pass the salt instead of me. Cleared my throat. You know, back in my day, Dad, Daniel cut me off, waving his hand. Not now, okay? We've heard this story 100 times. The words sliced through me like a cold knife. My wife used to squeeze my hand under the table when people were rude. But Margaret was gone now, and with her, the last person who truly saw me. A week later, my phone rang. Emily. My heart jumped. I thought maybe she missed me. Instead, she said, Dad, listen, we're worried. You're living alone and it's not safe. Why don't you sell the house and move into assisted living? I nearly dropped the receiver. Sell the house? Emily, this is my home. I built this place with your mother. Her voice sharpened. Dad, don't make this harder than it needs to be. We've already looked at a nice facility. It's time. Like I was spoiled milk, past expiration. I felt my chest tighten. Sweetheart, I'm not ready for that. Silence, then a sigh. Dad, stop being stubborn. Think about us too. Think about them. When was the last time they thought about me? I spent all day cooking my famous roast for Christmas Eve. The same roast Margaret taught me. The one my kids used to beg me for. I set the table carefully. Silverware polished, candles lit, napkins folded. I thought maybe tonight, maybe they'll remember who I am. But when the family arrived, they barely touched the roast. Daniel smirked and ordered pizza. Dad, you know the kids don't like heavy food. You should have just kept it simple. I stood there, carving slices no one wanted, listening to them laugh about vacations, gadgets, new cars. No one said, thank you, Dad. That night, I sat by the tree, staring at the lights Margaret and I once hung together, and I whispered to myself, they may ignore me today, but tomorrow, they'll never forget who I am. They thought I was weak, but what they didn't know was, I had been preparing. I wasn't just a history teacher. I was also an investor. While my kids wasted money on fancy cars and fast food, I quietly bought land, stocks, and bonds. They thought I was broke. They thought I'd need them. The truth? I had over 7 figures tucked away, and my house? Worth more than all their condos combined. 4 years, I let them underestimate me. I let them believe I was fading. But I wasn't fading. I was planning. And now, it was time to remind them. I wasn't just grandpa in the corner. I was George Whitman. On New Year's Day, I invited everyone over. They dragged their feet, annoyed. Another lecture from Dad. I overheard Emily mutter. But when they arrived, I didn't lecture. Instead, I handed out envelopes. Inside each of these, I said, is a letter. Consider it a test. How you treat me from now on will determine what's inside for you. Daniel laughed. Dad, what is this Monopoly money? I stared at him. No, this is real life. The room went quiet. For the first time in years, I had their full attention. I didn't open the envelopes. I didn't explain them. I just told my family. How you treat me in the coming weeks will determine your future. The envelopes will reveal it. They chuckled nervously, thinking it was another one of my teacher experiments. But I wasn't joking. For the first time in years, I felt alive, like I was back in my classroom, setting up a test, except this time, the lesson was for my own children. The next few weeks were revealing. Emily stopped by once, flowers in hand. Not because she missed me, no. She glanced at the envelope on the coffee table more than she looked at me. "Dad," she said sweetly, "we should have lunch sometime. Maybe next week." "Sure," I said flatly, knowing it was just an act. Daniel, he didn't visit at all. Just a cold text. "Busy with work, Dad. Hope you're doing well." But then, there was Jacob, 16 years old. My grandson. Everyone in the family dismissed him as lazy and video game obsessed. But Jacob came every Saturday, helped me with groceries, sat with me, listened. One afternoon, he said, "Grandpa, tell me again about how you and Grandma met." I told him, and for the first time in years, I saw real curiosity in someone's eyes. That boy, he didn't see me as a burden. He saw me as family. It didn't take long for whispers to start. Emily called Daniel. I overheard her on speakerphone when I walked past the kitchen. "He's up to something," she hissed. "Those envelopes, he's messing with us." Daniel snorted. "Please, he's an old man playing games. Probably has a few $100 saved. Maybe a life insurance policy. Nothing to worry about." But Emily's voice dropped lower. "I don't know, what if it's more? What if he's been hiding something?" I smiled to myself. Finally, after years of being invisible, I had them whispering about me. 2 weeks later, I invited them again. This time, the energy was different. Polite smiles, forced conversations, too much enthusiasm in their voices. "Dad, how are you feeling?" Emily asked, her eyes darting toward the envelopes stacked neatly on my desk. Daniel patted me on the back. "Looking strong, Pops. Have you been working out?" I almost laughed. These were the same kids who ignored me at Thanksgiving. Now they were tripping over themselves to appear caring. But Jacob, he was the only one who didn't change. He ate quietly, then helped me clear the table without being asked. I watched as Emily pretended to scrub a dish, sighing dramatically about how busy she was making time for me. And Daniel scrolled his phone under the table, whispering to his wife about stock prices. They thought they were fooling me, but I saw everything. Finally, I stood up. The table went silent. I picked up the envelopes. My hands trembled, not from age, but from the weight of what I was about to do. You all think I'm weak. You think I'm old, useless, and ready to be put away. But let me tell you something. I looked at each of them, my voice rising. I spent my whole life raising you, working 2 jobs, building this house with your mother. And now, you sit at my table on my furniture, eating food I cooked, and treat me like I don't exist. Emily's face went red. "Dad, that's not fair." I slammed my hand on the table. "Fair? Fair? Was it fair when you dismissed me at Thanksgiving? When you suggested I sell my house like it was a pair of old shoes? When you let your kids order pizza while my roast sat untouched?" Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. I pulled out the envelopes. "These are copies of my will. Only one person here has earned a place in it." Gasped. Eyes widened. Daniel's voice cracked. "Dad, what are you saying?" I turned to Jacob, placed a hand on his shoulder. "This boy, the only one who listened, who cared, he gets everything." The room erupted. Emily's voice shook with rage. "Dad, you can't do this. I'm your daughter." Daniel slammed his fist on the table. "This is manipulation. He's just a kid. He doesn't understand." Jacob froze, eyes wide. "Grandpa, I don't want your money. I just wanted to be here." Tears burned my eyes. That right there, those words were worth more than any fortune. I looked at my children, their faces twisted with greed and desperation. "You ignored me when I was alive in front of you. Don't expect to profit when I'm gone." But here's the part no one saw coming. The envelopes, they weren't the real will. The truth is, my actual will had been locked in my lawyer's safe for months. And in that will, I didn't just cut out Emily and Daniel. I made sure they couldn't challenge it. My estate was divided into 3 parts. A trust for Jacob, accessible only after he turned 25. A donation to the local library in honor of Margaret. And a fund for scholarships for kids who wanted to study history. Emily and Daniel? Nothing. Except one thing. A letter. A letter that said, "You wanted me gone. You treated me like I was already dead. Now live with the consequences." Now, I sit on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise. Jacob joins me sometimes. We don't talk much, we don't need to. He sees me, and that's all I ever wanted. As for Emily and Daniel, they've gone silent. No more calls about assisted living. No more demands to sell the house. They finally understand. I wasn't a ghost. I wasn't forgotten. I was the one pulling the strings all along. And when the day comes, they'll never forget the lesson I taught them. Never dismiss someone who gave you everything, because one day they might show you exactly who they are. Backhand index pointing, right? So, was I too harsh? Or did my family deserve everything they got? Am I the villain here, or the victim finally standing up for myself? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. And if you think more seniors should never feel invisible, hit like, share, and subscribe, because no one deserves to be ignored.